And we're back. It's another Neville and Chill live stream. Hello, everyone. Tonight's conversation is for the bold and the brave. It is for the dreamers and the doers. Tonight, we are talking about the life and world changing power of a vast vision. A vast vision. There's something truly catalyst like having a powerful vision of what you can create. A powerful vast vision is a catalyst of potential. It is a catalyst of life potential. Daring to dream big has power. There's something about casting a vast vision that has life transforming power, and that is the topic of tonight's discussion. So if that resonates with you, I invite you to plug in, get focused, and let's talk about what it means to cast a vast vision. I see I've got some people here joining me on the live stream. I'm going to pause here and just say hello to everyone. And then we will go ahead and dive right into the exploration here. See, we have John Wick. Hello, Mr. Wick. We have Orlena. We have Anna, Jackie, Sonia, Carrie, Serenity, Stasio, Glenn, You But Better, and Lily in the chat. Hello, everyone. My bold dreamers and doers. Okay. We're going to go ahead and just jump right into this conversation about what it means to dream boldly. And to start, I'm going to frame it using a story that Neville Goddard told in one of his lectures. I found this story a couple years ago. I think it was December of 2021. And I was so compelled by this story that I actually took Neville's lecture and I made a little music video out of it. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that.
A strong imagination begets the event. A strong imagination begets the event. Your own wonderful human imagination. Imagination is not some vague essence one would be led to believe. It is a person. And that person is Jesus in you. That is your own wonderful human imagination. Is your own wonderful human imagination. Now this is his story. He inherited a business from his father. But in 46, the war was over, and all the great orders that came into government cut it down to practically nothing. And someone suggested that he look into a certain invention that came out in the 30s, but it was never commercialized. It was offered IBM, and they turned it down. He was offered to Kodak, and they turned it down. Offered to the A.B. Dick Company, and they turned it down. So he took it home and looked it over. And to him, he thought it had much in its favor. For the next 12 years, he simply imagined. Just imagine, because he did put money into it. His company was making money, and what they made in 12 years, he put all that they made in 12 years plus what he could borrow. So he invested $75 million. Half of that his company in 12 years had made, and he borrowed loans and issued stock. He took no salary in that interval. He took stock in lieu of salary. He persuaded his executives to do the same thing and just take stock if they could live. Well, he and 300 odd became multi-millionaires. He simply imagined. That thing is Xerox. Today, it's $1,700,000,000 a year, one of the giants in our country. $1,700,000,000 a year. He simply imagined. A strong imagination begets the event. He simply imagined. Imagination is not some vague essence that one would be led to believe. It is a person. And that person is Jesus in you. That is your own wonderful human imagination.
Okay. He simply imagined. He simply imagined. For years, this man, founder of Xerox, had an idea in his head. He had a vision for what the world would be like if he could take this idea and give birth to it. And it wasn't a short-term goal. This was not, hey, let me, tomorrow I'm going to do this, or even next month I'm going to do that, or even next quarter, or even next year. This is a long-term goal. This was something that he focused on for over a decade. He had this vision consistently in his mind's eye, and he believed in it with such a fierce and bold passion that he was quoted as saying, I would have to be psychoanalyzed if I, at this stage in my career, were to take this risk again. Because it was such a bold thing to do that later on, as humans age, we tend to be a little bit less eager to take on profound risks. So later on in his life, when he was interviewed about his success, he's like, oh, I'd have to be psychoanalyzed to, consider doing something like that again. But he boldly dreamed, and he didn't just dream. It didn't stay in the realm of imagination. He was able to cast a vast vision, and it wasn't vague. It was clearly defined. He had this device. He had this photocopy machine. It was kind of the early version of what a photocopier is. He had a very early prototype of this, and he had a clear vision for how the business world would be transformed by bringing this device into the world, making it available. And that vision that he had was so clearly defined that he was able to bring it to the people around him. And it became contagious. This vision became contagious to where employees of his company, other executives, other people in the Xerox company were going all in on this vision. They were even giving up salary, taking stock in lieu of salary, because they believed so firmly in this vision. Okay, that's the power of a vast vision. When clearly defined, a vast vision can compel millions, can compel the behavior of millions to come and support it. That's the power of a vast vision. Okay, so I give this example of this particular story with Xerox because it's top of mind. Neville talked about it. It's fascinating. You know, this man, very publicly quoted as revealing the secret of his success as being a strong imagination, and then getting the Time article in recognition of his life. After his death, he died of a heart attack, as the article said. The Time article led with that. A strong imagination begets the event. Okay, so here's a multi-billion-dollar example of a bold vision and how it births circumstances into reality. Okay, so the purpose of this conversation tonight is to encourage everyone who is hearing the sound of my voice right now to dream bigger than your comfort zone. To actually dream bigger, to cast a vision that is bigger than your comfort zone. Neville was very famously quoted as saying the following words: imagine better than the best you know. Imagine better than the best you know. Okay, that's pretty, right? Those are pretty words, right? We can say that, it's aesthetically pleasing and inspiring to hear something like that. But let's break down what that actually means. What does it actually mean to imagine better than the best we know? The key to understanding this sentence is in the second half of it. Imagine better than, and the second half is the best you know. Okay, so we as human beings living in a civilization, living in a very connected society, we can very readily see what already exists. We can very readily see what other people have already done or what they are doing now. Okay, so it is very easy to take someone else's vision and personalize it and say, yeah, I want that. Right? You can see someone else living a lifestyle and you can be like, yeah, okay, that I want to be them. I want to be living like that. I want that life is for me. I want to live their life. Okay. And to be clear, this is actually, it can be a best practice. We call it modeling. Can be a best practice under certain cases. It can be a best practice to do this type of modeling, particularly if you're looking for the state, the key character anchors that enable you to connect with the state and stay there. Okay, you can model those behaviors based on someone else. But in the context of this quote, what those other people are doing is what you know. And Neville, in this quote, is inviting us to imagine better than the best we know. Another way of relating to this idea of imagining better than the best we know is to consider generative AI. Okay, so generative AI, when you ask an AI tool to generate an image of something, AI has been trained on all of the imagery, right, that it's ever seen. Okay, and so anything that AI is generating is derivative in some way from the training data that it has had access to. Okay, that's a limitation presently of AI's ability to imagine. And you and I are not limited in the same way. We do not have a hard cap on our imagination that says we can only imagine derivative of our training data. That's the brilliance of the human imagination. We can go beyond what we have already seen. We can go beyond what already exists, tangibly manifested. I mean, we understand all things exist. We can tap into that realm of all things, and we can make things that currently are not seen, seen, right? We can make the unseen seen. The wise use of our imagination. And in so doing, we can leave the realm of derivative and we can begin to use our imagination to boldly imagine better than the best we know. Okay. Chances are, if you're coming across a topic like this, chances are you probably are well versed in manifestation techniques. Okay, manifestation techniques, there's many of them. The primary idea is to use your imagination to clearly visualize what you want, connect to the state of being where it's very natural. You know, the person that you become is the person who naturally has that thing. A lot of conversations around manifestation techniques are focused on very short-term objectives. This conversation in particular, I want to go beyond the short term and I want to talk about long-term objectives. I want to talk about 20 and 30-year visions. 20 and 30-year visions. Okay. So this man, Xerox, founder of Xerox, you know, he came across this device in the 30s and he had to hold a steady imagination for decades between when he first came across the device and started, you know, thinking about, you know, oh, what is the potential of this and started to build that vision. He had to hold that vision steady for multiple decades until the full realization of it. Okay, so we're going to leave the realm of the thinking about today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, a year from now, and let's talk about multi-decade visions. Speaking from experience, when I contemplate 20 and 30-year visions, in just the slightest type of way, but still enough to where I have to say it, it's a little bit scary. It is just a little bit scary to project across a 20 or 30 year, you know, project over the horizon of time, 20 or 30 years into the future. Now, why? Why do I say that? Why is that just a little bit uncomfortable? Well, because there's a lot of value, a lot of variables on that path between where we are standing here today and the full realization of a 20 to 30-year vision. There's a lot of variables. The further you go down a timeline, the wider the circle gets, right? The circle of what you can ultimately wind up with in terms of, you know, all the variables in the path between here and there. That circle widens and widens and widens, you know? What you might be doing tomorrow might be a very, very small, you know, circle of the variables, you know, it's going to land somewhere in here. Then you get to next week and then you get to next year and then you get to, you know, 5 years and then 10 years and then 20 years and then 30 years. And the circle just keeps widening. Okay. So to very directly cast a vision that goes that far into the future requires a boldness, to say, I don't know for sure what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or a year from now, but I'm going to boldly and with courageous determination, I'm going to cast a long-term vision of 20 to 30 years, and I'm going to boldly hold it steady, regardless of what happens in the meantime. Regardless of all those variables, I'm just going to allow, you know, I'm just going to surf those waves. I'm going to allow the variables to happen. I'm going to allow, you know, life to happen. I'm going to allow, you know, the bumps in the road, the twists, the turns, the corners. I'm going to allow for all of that. And I'm going to every single day recast that long-term vision, knowing that, recognizing that that is the key. Right? Recasting that long-term vision, holding it steady, that is the key to birthing it into reality. Okay, the steadiness of the vision. Okay, so My favorite analogy for this is a film camera, with a long exposure film camera. So you open up the aperture and you're exposing the film. And the more you move the camera while the film is being exposed to light, the blurrier and less clearly defined the image becomes, the image that is being impressed into the film. And this is why, for long exposure photography, it's very common to stabilize your camera on a tripod, because even the slightest little movements will create a blurry image. So you want to stabilize it. You want to have the camera held steady so that the film is getting a steady impression of the vision, particularly when we are talking about bold long-term visions, particularly when we were talking about 20 to 30 year imaginal pictures, such as this man, the founder of Xerox, was able to hold. The key is to hold it steady for the long term. And one of the primary ways to hold it steady is to reconnect to it and re-envision it every day. Okay, so we're going to start to make this practical, and we're going to share some strategies for doing this. Okay. So for those of you that are the long-term dreamers and you have a vision for what you can create over the next 20 to 30 years of your time on Earth, the first step is to clearly define the vision as clearly as possible. And the vision should be so big that it scares you just a little bit. It should scare you just a little bit because it should feel like it's outside of your comfort zone. It should feel like it should feel inspired. It should feel when you time travel in your imagination and you place yourself in yourself 30 years from now, and you give that scene tones of reality, it should feel, you should feel very moved by this. It should feel heart expanding. You should feel this updraft of love and appreciation, and you should feel humbled by the enormousness of it. Just recognizing, like, wow, look at what I've been able to birth into reality over the long term. The consistency, the dedication, the habits and practice of mastery, of coming back to the potter's wheel every single day and reshaping the vessel. That's how I got here. So there's like this humbling, effect. Yes, you're proud of it, but it's also, you're kind of humbled because you're like, wow, like this is, even better than imagined, right? So there's that feeling to it. There's that essence to it. And it should also feel like there's a bit of a gap between where you are right now and this end goal. Because if you feel like you could do it tomorrow, you're not dreaming big enough. You are not properly honoring your potential if you feel like you could do it tomorrow. If you have an amazing vision and you could do it tomorrow, then you better do it tomorrow. And then you must also vision something even bigger. Okay, that's the key message here. The vision should continue to expand and get bigger and bigger and bigger until you're like, oh, that's maybe a little bit too big. Okay, that's how you know. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can actually make it there in a single lifetime. Okay, that's how you know that you're probably starting to dream big enough. Okay, you need to clearly define this vision, and it should start from the perspective of not so much being a destination, rather it should be the expression at a level of fullness. So think about the moon. Okay, so a new moon, the surface of the moon is not illuminated at all. Okay, and then as we go through the new moon, and then the moon starts to wax, it starts to get bigger. You start to see just a sliver of the moon. Over time, over that 2 weeks to full, slowly more and more of that moon is being revealed until you reach the full moon, and the entire surface of the moon, the visible surface of the moon, is fully illuminated. That's the full expression of the moon, to use an analogy. Okay, so it didn't just blip into existence and its fullness. There was a path, right? And it was, slowly revealing more and more of itself over this period of time until it became fully visible. Another analogy is the seed that you're planting of a tree. Okay, so it starts out as literally a seed, and then it germinates, and then it sprouts, and then it becomes a little sapling. And then 20 to 30 years of growth later, it is a giant, mature shade tree, okay, that affects the whole natural world around it because of its size and stature. Okay, our visions grow the same way. So it's not that 30 years from now it just magically this new thing that I'm being blips into existence. No, it's the full expression of something that we start doing today. Okay, so it's let me figure out, let me determine, let me clearly define my gifts, my skills, my talents, and my abilities. And now let me take that and let me transpose that over time to what a full expression of what I could uniquely give birth to in my reality if I were to apply my gifts, skills, talents, and abilities every single day for the next 30 years and bring just a little bit more into vision every single day for the next 30 years. What would be that full expression when that tree that we're growing becomes a shade tree, right? And is affecting the natural world around it because of its stature. Okay, so when your vision is fully grown and is fully at its apex of impact in the world around you and the vision, when it reaches that, what is happening? What is happening? And this is the best practice for this. You paint that arc of development, and then that end vision. Okay, you clearly define who, what, where, when, and why. Okay, so let's be really clear about this. In case I didn't call it out directly, this conversation is for the billionaires. Okay, so I want to make that really clear. This is for people who are like, yeah, I'm wired this way. I'm wired to make tremendous impact with my life in one way or another. Okay, so we're gonna niche it down. I'm gonna talk directly to you right now. The billionaire mindset is all about value. It's all about value. What wealthy people do is they create value and then they exchange it in a marketplace. That's the most simple way you can say that. And so the greater the value that you create, the greater the value you exchange it for in the marketplace. Okay, so this is why billionaires who did not inherit their wealth, but rather are self-made in a way. Okay, just to make that distinction. Billionaires who are self-made did not just inherit billions, but actually did something in their life to create this level of value. They are very directly focused on service. They are focused on service. They are asking the question every single day, how can I create value that meaningfully affects the lives of others? How can I create significant, substantial value? And the ones that are really at their apex of potential, they're saying, how can I bring value to the people in this world every single day? Okay, so this is, if you study the billionaire mindset, if you study people and you kind of model what their typical behaviors are, you have people such as Jeff Bezos. So Jeff Bezos is famously focused on customer service. Okay, and he has rewritten the game to where his approaches are taught in master classes. His approaches are taught at business universities. For people pursuing high level business degrees, he's been kind of a test bed of how to really serve the needs of a lot of people and to do so really, really well. Okay, so it's this customer focus, it's this value focus, it's this, how can I make the lives of other people better? How can I create the maximum value for them? And then how can I do it in a way where I can exchange it for value in a marketplace? Okay, value for value. Okay. So with these questions, who, what, where, when, and why, here's how we frame this. Okay. So it's, who am I serving? Okay. Who are those people that I'm here to serve? As easy as it is to get swept up by the egocentric nature of social media, the real value in life is in finding something bigger than your own self, finding a story to be a part of that is bigger than your own personal life, finding a cause that has bigger impact than just your local personal life. The real gift of life is to give your gifts, skills, talents, and abilities in a way that improves the quality of life of others. Okay, so it's all about service. It's all about service. So when you're defining this vision that is going to reach its apex of expression over 20 to 30 years, it starts by clearly defining, who am I here to serve? Who am I here to serve? What is that service? Okay, what do they need? What is their problem that I can help them solve? What am I doing to serve these people? Where is this service taking place? Okay, and that can be answered in a lot of different ways. Okay, but you're just, this is how we're getting a clear picture, a clear image. Okay, when, under what circumstances, which is another way of saying when, does the value that I have to offer meet the people that I'm here to serve? Okay, when is that taking place? Is that, in the case of Jeff Bezos, it's he wants his product to be a part of your mental conversation every time you realize you need something. Okay, every time you're saying, oh, I need groceries for dinner, he wants you to think about Whole Foods home delivery. Okay, he wants to be a part of that mental conversation in such an immediate way that when you're like, oh, I need to buy new underwear, he hopes that you'll pick up your phone and open up the Amazon app, because it's the most convenient way to meet your need, and that has been his service. He wants, through his vision of what logistics and customer satisfaction and the whole Amazon model of e-commerce, the way that has redefined the internet and how we shop for things. Okay, that's his goal. He wants to be a part of almost every conversation you're having, especially if it has anything to do with getting something or a marketplace transaction or, exchanging value, currency for something you need. He wants to at least enter that as a thought in your mind and say, I wonder if I could get that on Amazon, or I wonder if, I could get that at Whole Foods and it could be delivered to my doorstep. Okay, so that's his win, right? It's essentially constantly. Okay, that's essentially where his mind, he's like, I want to constantly be delivering my value to as many people as possible. Okay, and why? Why? Why does what you have to offer, why does that make an impact? Why is that important? Why is it valuable? Why is it valuable? Why does the world need what you have to offer? As you go through this process of clearly defining your vision, you write it down and then you progress it over time. Okay. Now, you won't necessarily have all of the answers. The point is not to have all the answers. The point is to dream big, to dream big. The point is to say, okay, who, what, where, when, and why? All right, awesome. How can I start? How can I start to fulfill this promise of potential now? What can I do literally today and tomorrow and the next day and every day to begin to deliver on my gifts, skills, talents, and abilities in a way that creates value that can be exchanged for other forms of value in a marketplace? Okay, so it starts there. That's the fundamental idea, to clearly define what that big vision is, and then to start where you are now, and then over time, expand, expand, expand. Now, the how that those little expansions take place, that's not up to you. Okay, this is the part where we can bring in Neville and we can say, the Father in me does the work. Okay, it's up to me to hold the vision and to show up every day. Okay, so it's up to me to give my gifts, skills, talents, and abilities. And that should not feel heavy. Okay, not that it doesn't sometimes feel like work. I mean, speaking from experience, I feel like I'm living my dream every day, and yet there's still some days where I'm like, oh, I have a lot to do. I definitely have some work. And there are some times I'm like, okay, this is not my favorite thing to do. But the passion of the long-term dream and recasting it every day keeps my fire lit. Okay, it keeps my fire lit. And that's where you want to be. You want to be at the place where you don't necessarily have all the hows. You can't necessarily see all of the circumstances that will lead to the full expression of your long-term multi-billion-dollar vision. Okay, you don't necessarily see all of those details, but you hold the vision and you recast it every single day, and you remain faithful to it, and you RSVP yes to the invitations that arrive. Right? You RSVP yes to the invitations that arrive that feel like a match. This is what I mean by showing up, okay? Because you don't know exactly how. You know, this man, Mr. Wilson, Joseph Chamberlain Wilson, he did not know how his bet on the Xerox machine would pay off. He did not know, who's going to buy it first, and how am I going to manufacture it, and where are the components going to come from, and how am I going to source the glass and the metal and the semiconductors and he didn't know all of the science of the how. He didn't have to. Okay? Imagination begets the event. Imagination births the event. So he held the vision of copy machines being in every office in the world. That was his vision. His vision was, this device that I have, started off in his garage, right? He bought this thing and he was like, okay, this device that I sat and played with in my garage is going to revolutionize the way that businesses work globally. It's going to be in every office in the world, one of these machines. Okay. He held that vision. He didn't know how it was going to get there. He knew it would get there because he held the vision steady. And then he showed up every day and he walked it forward. Okay. So walking it forward, he talked to people about it. He got in the boardroom and he said, look, guys, I have this vision for what Xerox could be. I have this vision for what this invention could be. As the video pointed out, this invention had already been turned down by the biggest names in the business. IBM looked at it and was like, that doesn't have value, right? The AB Dick company, which isn't even around anymore. So I guess that tells you about their mindset, right? AB Dick company's like, no, we don't need that. Nobody needs that, right? He completely ignored the noise. And that's the next key takeaway here. when you're building something, your job title when you first start is chief believer. You are literally the chief believer, and you can put that on your business card, right? That is your primary job title when you're first building something. And honestly, that job title doesn't disappear. It just maybe is additive to other job titles. Eventually maybe you are the founder and the chief executive. Maybe you're the president of the board at some point if you're building a business, as an example. But you're still, as the person who cast the vision and are holding it steady, your job title is chief believer. It is up to you to believe, and that means blocking out the noise. Okay, I was watching a video the other night that had a horse-drawn carriage, and the horse had the blinders on and was just happily trotting down the path, pulling the cart with the blinders on, right? One step in front of the other, paying no attention to the noise. And it got me thinking, just that imagery, just because it's quite a party in this brain sometimes. That got me thinking. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what we're called upon to be as brave mystics who are carrying the torch forward. Okay, so it's not that we are ignorant. Okay, it's not that we're ignorant, but it is that we are not distracted. We are not distracted. Okay, so this is a skill. This is a skill of learning to harness the power and force of one's own energy and willpower. Okay, so it's not that we're ignorant of the fact that what we're doing is earth-shaking or unconventional or revolutionary, and probably some people don't like it. If you're doing anything that's worth doing, there's going to be people that don't like it. That's just the nature of it. You have to rock the boat to evolve. That's just the nature of things. Okay, so there are going to be people that are going to be like, copy machines, that's stupid. What the heck are you doing investing all your money in this? You're loading the boat on something that's untested, unproven? What the heck is wrong with you? Okay, and guess what Mr. Joseph Chamberlain Wilson did? He put on the blinders and he kept walking forward. Okay, not because he was ignorant, but because he was focused, because he was determined, because he believed in the power of imagination, and he knew that a vision cast and held steady is more powerful than millions who might try to stand against it. I've started carrying a lighter around with me. Now, to be clear, I'm not a smoker. I do not have a need to carry a lighter. And I started carrying a lighter around with me. And the reason for that is because it is a meditative practice and it is a study of the alchemy of fire. Okay, the alchemy of fire. And I point that out because what I just said brought a lot of fire energy through. And I wanted to recognize that and also point out that having this level of fierce determination is not something that you just wake up one day and have. It is something that you nurture over time. It is a seedling, right? You love it. Okay, you love it. You care for it. You nurture it. You do you need water? Do you need fertilizer? What do you like? You literally, you wake up every day and you're like, how can I wisely feed this fire? How can I wisely feed this fire that is my determination, that is my bold vision, right? And doing this requires bravery, right? It requires bravery, requires a boldness. Okay, this is not for people that want to play small or stay in their comfort zone. This requires that we stretch. And in the stretch, sometimes, as my yoga teacher reminds me all the time, there is discomfort. And that's the whole point, really, of the stretch. So really the whole point. If there's not discomfort, you aren't actually getting the full benefit. Okay, there's something called therapeutic discomfort. It's like, yeah, this isn't my favorite feeling right now. It's not quite pain, right? It's therapeutic discomfort, like a cold shower, right? Getting under a cold shower, it's not my favorite thing right now, although it usually becomes my favorite thing later after I get used to it, right? But at first, it's therapeutic discomfort. I don't love this right now, but I'm doing it because I understand that there is a therapeutic benefit for doing it. Okay. So this whole waking up every day and rekindling the fire and holding that vision steady and boldly taking steps towards it, even when you have naysayers, even if your naysayers live in your same house, right? Some of us have probably family members that if we tried to tell them about our 30-year vision, they would pour water on that flame as soon as they saw it, right? So sometimes it's hustle in darkness, right? Sometimes it's hustle in the silence. It's get up and do it every day and you don't have to talk about it. It's that my fire is burning so strongly, I don't need validation from someone else to say, oh, that's a brilliant vision. Yeah, do that. Okay. Is it nice to have that kind of support? Yes. Yes, it is. Does it sometimes help the seedling grow? Yes. Yes, it can. But is it necessary? If you need support, you need to join something like the School of Imagination. You need to come and find a community like what I and my colleagues have built. That's where you would go for support. If you have a long-term vision and you want some sort of validation, some sort of support, if you want that nurturing, if you want to sit with a group of people who will never throw water on your flame, okay? You would seek them out and you would choose with wisdom who you would share something so sacred as your long-term vision with, right? You would do that on purpose. And never mind the other people. Who cares? There's being on YouTube, I've gone through a whole evolutionary cycle of learning about, sometimes I get great compliments on my videos. And they're like, oh my God, what you're saying here has changed my life. This is amazing. What a gift. Thank you so much. And then I've got other people who say the exact opposite. Okay. So it's like being a creator and like reading comments. It's like, I could be a bipolar experience. I've had to learn to really not care what other people say. I've learned to develop a thick skin because honestly, when I started out, I did not have a thick skin. I was like, oh, this is great. It's landing so well. And oh, this person hates it. Well, dang, maybe I'm messing up, right? I was kind of pulled all different directions. Okay. I had to quickly grow out of that and get a thick skin and honestly not really care. I had to develop a level of focus to where the noise could not distract me. And there's a quote for this that I have found to be supremely helpful. And it's basically this, okay? Never take criticism seriously from someone who you would not actively seek out for advice, okay? So let's say I'm building a business. Okay. Let's say that's my chief definite aim. I want to build a massive business. Okay. There's going to be a million people that are going to just take a dump on the idea. Right. And I don't care about what any of them have to say because I would never ask them for advice because what could they possibly offer me? Okay. But if I happen to get in the same room with Jeff Bezos and I happen to pitch him on my idea and he's like, man, I kind of see it, but like, I feel like you're really missing X, Y, and Z. Okay. That might be something that I would take into my kitchen, right? Into my laboratory and say, okay, this is something I should sit with and consider. Okay. But until that source of advice is coming from someone, I'd be like, oh, I would actively, until that source of criticism, just to make sure we're talking about the same thing, until that critic voice is coming from someone I would actively seek out and ask for advice to help me get better, I'm not going to pay any attention to it. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. Doesn't affect me. I'm not giving that the gift of the currency of my attention. Not doing it. Okay. So it's literally, it becomes this refined focus where you're like, I am going to boldly recast this vision every single day. I'm going to walk it forward. And I'm not going to care about what anybody else has to say about it unless this person is someone I'm actively seeking advice from. then I will take it into consideration. But even that person cannot throw me off my vision, because I understand my vision is not dependent on anyone outside of me's validation. It is only dependent upon the strength of my imagination, because I know Neville Goddard said, a strong imagination begets the event. Okay, let's continue on with a couple of the key points here that make this conversation very practical. And it is meant to be a little bit of a motivational speech as well. So I hope you're feeling that fire. Okay, so one of the other key things to talk about when we're talking about the long-term visions is you have to shift your time preference. When I go on Amazon, based on where I live on this planet, when I go on Amazon and I'm looking at something, I would say 80% of the things that I'm looking at, it says I can have later today. Okay, it can be delivered to my door later today. Okay, that is super short time preference. All right, I can literally click buy on this thing, and in a few hours, someone drops it off at my door. Okay, almost instant fulfillment. That's amazing. Okay, and it's also a symptom of a culture of instant gratification. It's a symptom of a culture of instant gratification. Okay, so fiat currency as a concept has caused been a driving force in the time preference of humans. Okay, so if you went to an MBA program, they would train you to focus on quarterly goals. Okay, so it's let's make as much money as possible over the next 3 months. And then let's do it again over the next 3 months. And then let's do it again over the next 3 months, right? Quarterly goals, quarterly reports, earnings, stock market, publicly held companies. They come out and they publish their earnings quarterly, right? So it's this short term, immediate gratification, immediate satiation. How much money can I make in the next 3 months? Can I get a bonus in the next 3 months? It's this very short time preference, okay? And that's because fiat money, just by its very nature, it inflates and it devalues. Okay, so you're constantly like climbing up a muddy mountain, right? So you constantly have to make more to try to get somewhere. This conversation about holding a 20 to 30-year vision steady shifts our time preference. Okay, it shifts the investments that we're willing to make, and it also shifts the timeline of where we're making measurements along the journey. Okay, so all of us love to see progress. Okay, it's a very natural human thing. When we start walking somewhere, we want to be able to turn around and look back and say, oh, I started over there and now I'm here. Okay, great. That's helpful. And also, it can be a hindrance when our goals become too short-sighted and our time preference becomes too compressed. Okay, when we're too focused on the next thing, to the point, I want to be very clear about this, because having short-term goals is not a problem. It's getting confused. There's nuance to what I'm describing here. It's getting confused about short time preference versus holding the long-term vision. That's what the issue is here, and that's what we're talking about as a best practice. Not getting attached to short time horizons. Okay, so here's the basic idea. When you have a vision that is so big that you expect it to reach the apex of its potential in 20 to 30 years, are you now willing to invest 3 to 5 years in cultivating your skill set to be the best, whatever it is that you're doing that's bringing value to the world? Would you be willing to invest 3 to 5 years of that 20 to 30 year time horizon to become the very best at what you do, to take that high-end training, to study under a mentor, to become an apprentice? to seek out a master who will guide you, right? A journeyman who will take you as an apprentice. Like if you're trying to get rich tomorrow, a 3 to 5 year time horizon, you might completely discount that and be like, oh, I don't have time to study this. I want quick wins. Okay. And that I see that mentality on the internet a lot, like this, oh, I just want quick wins. Okay. But quick wins and a 20 to 30 year vision that is so big that it almost scares you and certainly feels like therapeutic discomfort and how far it's stretching. Okay, those ideas, you have to really think about how they do or do not fit together. Okay, so when you have a properly framed goal and you are thinking at the level of legacy, your time preference shifts and it's no longer climbing a muddy mountain. Rather, it's this muddy mountain, right? Like, one step up, slide back 2 steps, 2 steps up, slide back 1 step, right? It's like this. That's the person who's going from quick win to quick win, right? Easy come, easy go. That's the basic mentality. When you have a long-term, clearly defined vision, you are moving towards it every single day. You're holding it steady. It's written down and you recast it every day and you've got the blinders on. You don't care what anybody else has to say. You are moving boldly towards it. Your time preference is now different. And now you're able to see something like a mentor coming to you and saying, look, put in 3 years with me and I will fund whatever you want to build next. Give me 3 years. Let me mentor you. Let me work with you. Let me incubate you. And in 3 years, you'll have access to my network and to my capital. And I will fund whatever you want to build after that. Okay, give me 3 years. You're going to look at that. And if you're in the right mindset, you're going to be like, my imagination is amazing. I manifested this. I can't sign on that dotted line fast enough. Okay, you'll see it for the gift it is. But if you're in this hustle, quick wins, I want to be rich tomorrow, you'd be like, 3 years? Nah, I don't have time for that. That's too much work. This time preference, focus on the long-term vision. Short-term goals can be a part of it, but it's time preference. Those 2 words, time preference. Okay. Am I focused on what comes cheap and easy, or am I willing to make the investment because I see the value of what I'm bringing into this world? At this stage of my life and my career, I have a couple of mentors that I sit with on a regular basis, usually weekly, who actively coach me in my mindset, in my mastery mindset, right? Because mastery is a mindset. It's not a destination. It's a mindset that we take on as we walk down the path of our potential, the path of expression of our potential. So I have these mentors that pour into me and actively coach me on thinking, and challenge my vision. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to do this. And they're like, I don't see how that fits into your 20 to 30 year plan. And so now I have to justify it. I'd be like, oh, but it's this, this, and this. And then they'll challenge me on that and be like, okay, but are you seeing this? And I'd be like, oh, I guess I didn't really think about that. And they're like, okay, come back next week with a little more clarity and let's talk about it again. Okay. So what I just described, this is this idea of keep the thing, the thing. Okay. Keep the thing, the thing. Know what you are doing and keep the thing, the thing. Okay. So if you're going to take, I'm giving you this an analogy example of a mentorship. Okay. You want to keep the thing, the thing. Okay. So yes, take that mentorship just as an example, right? I'm just trying to use some examples here. Take that mentorship, but make sure you take it understanding how it fits into your long-term vision. It should not be a distraction. It should be a accelerator. Okay. It should be an accelerator. You should be able to clearly link the skills that you would learn in such a thing to that long-term vision that is described with the who, what, where, when, and why. When I'm fully expressing my gifts, skills, talents, and abilities in the apex of expression of this thing that I'm building, okay, how will I look back and say, oh, that 3-year apprenticeship that I did directly related to my ability to artfully express this massive vision? That's the key idea here. Keep the thing the thing. Okay, so if this conversation is resonating with you, and if you are the type of person that thinks at this level, which is quite remarkable, and I applaud you for having the boldness and the courage to think at this level. My 20 to 30-year vision, me personally, what I am building a guild for people like you. I'm building a guild. I'm building incubators, vision incubators, life incubators, business incubators, project incubators, a guild in where these incubators live. That's my 20 to 30-year vision that I wake up every day and recasting that vision lights that fire, light that fire. And it's a huge vision. And it's so big that it scares me just a little bit because it's just a little bit out. I can't clearly see the how. And that's what you want. I want it to be that big. I want it to be so big that I can't say I clearly see the road between here and the full expression of this. I want it to be so big that it accounts for the magic and the mystery of imagination to fill in the details. It accounts for synchronicity, right? It opens, it's clearly defined, but it is just big enough that it invites synchronicity and invites the beauty of things aligning in just this amazing way that creates this narrative, that becomes my life story, right? So that's the goal here. The goal is to have a vision that big and then to walk towards it every single day, not having to know the how, but showing up and knowing that the how starts with the vision. Okay. It starts with recasting the vision and holding it steady. Okay. So if this appeals to you, the first step of this path is the Brave Mystic training. It's 99 days. It is a mindset training. It is a lifestyle incubator, because to walk a 20 to 30-year vision into reality, right? To make it take on flesh, okay, requires a certain type of mindset, a very rich and awakened imagination, and an understanding at a very dynamic level of how the simulation works. What is the game that we are playing here on Earth? Okay. We have to have a very clear and refined, standardized, structured understanding of how this works. Okay. So phase 1 is this training. And people who successfully complete this 99-day training receive an invitation to join the guild. The guild is only for people who have completed the Brave Mystic training. It's the basic training. Okay, so that's how you get access to the guild, where all of these other things are available, all of these business incubators, these masterminds, project incubators. That's the vision. So if that appeals to you, this next Brave Mystic training is starting next month. Okay, so there's a link in the description below to join the waiting list. More details coming about that, but this is a good time to talk about it because that's a key part of my long-term vision. Okay, my long-term vision is to incubate the potential of people like you, people who are hearing the sound of my voice in this moment and feel they have a vision, that they are inspired, right, in a way that lights their fire to walk forward into reality. Okay, I'm going to recap the key ideas here. Just so we have a very clear understanding. Okay, so here are the 5 key ideas that we've talked about so far. Okay, so the first one is you need to have a vision that is so big that it would take 20 to 30 years for it to reach the apex of its expression. Okay, so using that example of the seed that becomes germinated sprout and then a seedling and then grows into a tree and then eventually reaches its full maturity as a 50-foot tall shade tree, okay, casting shade over the natural world around it, okay? You need to have a vision that can't just be born tomorrow, just like a tree just doesn't come out of a seed and immediately reach 50 feet, okay? It takes time. You need to have a vision that is so big that it would just very naturally take 20 to 30 years to come into full expression. And by the way, some of you in this moment may not know what that is yet, okay? But you may feel a resonance with what I'm saying, which means you have one. You just need to define it, okay? So that's what this phase 1 Brave Mystic training is all about. We start by identifying and defining our life, mission, and purpose. And then we begin to build the lifestyle that will support our expression of that life, mission, and purpose. So you need to know what it is. It needs to be something that will take time, okay? And it needs to be so big that it feels outside of your comfort zone right now. You can't clearly see the how, but when you feel into it, you should feel heart energy. You should feel expansion energy. You should feel a lift of energy. You should feel inspired when you dream about the possibility of it. You need to write it down very clearly and define it in the context of service. Okay, so a lot of people may tell you, to write about your billionaire lifestyle and how, you're in this house and you have this jet and you have this car and, your kids are doing this and you're, maybe helping your community over here. Yes, and for this specifically, define your vision in the context of service. The context of service. What is the way that you are enriching the lives of others? What is that value that you are bringing? Okay, what is that value proposition? What is that value that you as a wealthy person are creating and exchanging for other forms of value in a marketplace? Okay, so that who, what, where, when, and why all comes down to service. Who am I serving? What am I doing that is the service? Where are these people being served? When do they encounter what it is that I have to offer? And why am I doing this? Or why is what am I doing important? Or why is this something that is valuable to others? And then you want to begin to cast and recast that vision every day. Okay, you've clearly defined it, cast and recast it every day, and then walk it forward. Show up in your life. Accept the invitations, understanding that you're holding a vision steady. And so now all of the resources, the millions of people who will need to align with you, you don't have to talk them into it. They will be compelled because your strong imagination begets the event. Okay, so you know that your imagination is doing the work, but you show up every day and you walk it forward and you hold that vision steady. Shift your time preference. Stop focusing on easy come, easy go, quick wins, fast and cheap. Okay, start to focus on quality. Start to value yourself, value your time, value your attention, value your focus. Be like that horse pulling the carriage of your dream down the path with the blinders on. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing or saying or even what they think about what you're doing. Okay, you have to have your fire burning in a way where a little rainstorm comes through and your fire doesn't go out. Okay, because there are weather patterns. Rain will come, but when you have properly built your fire, you can catch heat and flack from other people. Heat's the wrong analogy there. You can catch flack or a little bit of water, right? People can get out their squirt guns and try to spray it on your fire. And your fire is so properly tended, it is protected. And it will just a little bit of steam, but it keeps right on burning. Okay, so that's the key here. Shift your time preference, focus on long-term value, and keep that fire burning. Ignore what anyone else is saying. Let them shoot their squirt guns. Who cares? You are tending your fire. Keep the thing the thing. Do not be distracted. Okay. It's very easy when you get an inspired perspective on things that all of a sudden your phone rings and someone's like, hey, come do this with me. And it ticks like maybe 3 of your 6 boxes. Okay. It's like, oh, you'll get paid. Okay, great. I definitely want to get paid. Right. Oh, you'll meet these other people. Okay, great. I want to meet these other people. Oh, you'll have the opportunity to do this and this. Okay. Yeah, I do want to do these things. Okay. But the bottom line is it's 3 of the 6 boxes, and you're not here to manifest half of your vision. You are here to manifest your whole vision. Okay. So don't get distracted. Here's something I've noticed is that when I get really fired up and I'm really in my flow and I am pumping energy and my biofield is huge, right? Maybe you can identify with this. Maybe you felt this. It's like you are in that flow. Your energy is going. It is magnetic. And I will have people from decades ago in my life reaching out to me because they can feel it. They're like, this guy is on fire. I want to get close. I want to feel the heat. I want to be warmed by his fire. Okay. And that's cool. Okay. It's cool. You can take those calls or not take those calls. It's up to you. But do not let them distract you. Keep the thing, and be jealous over your time and energy and focus. Be jealous. Guard it jealously. Okay. And the best practice for this, the best practice is to have a mentor. Best practice to have a mentor. And if you join the Brave Mystic training, you won't just have one mentor. You will have several mentors, okay, who will help you with this. Because speaking from experience, I've done exactly what I just talked about. This is a real story, okay? And then I got people coming out of the woodwork offering me opportunities. And it's like, yeah, I could do that, but that would distract from my chief definite aim that is my 20 to 30-year vision, and it's 3 of the 6 boxes that I have. And being perfectly transparent, I didn't see that was the truth at first. I was just like, oh my God, this amazing opportunity has landed in my lap. Until I told my mentor. My mentor was like, that's great, Josiah. I'm really happy for you. And also, we really need to talk about your long-term vision because I don't see how this fits. Okay. I was held to account. Okay. And that's one of the key aspects of this Brave Mystic training. You start to get access to a group of people who do that for you. Okay. You are that for each other. You have the opportunity to hold each other's vision steady with each other and then bring things like that and be like, okay, and then now you have these people who are really rooting for you that are now mirrors, right? Mirrors of your possibility, mirrors of your highest potential, reflecting back to you. And then now you're getting a clearer image and you're like, okay, let me redouble down on my vision. Let me say, thank you for this opportunity. It's not right for me right now. I'm open to collaborating with in the future, but it's not right for me right now. Right? You can say, look, appreciate the offer, but I'm on a mission right now. I must retain the power of my focus. Okay? Because I'm supremely valuing my focus, my energy, my attention. I'm not wasting it. Okay? I'm not treating it as valueless. There's a lot of people in the world right now that treat their attention as that it has no value. Okay? You are not one of those people. Bold dreamers who walk visions forward from 20 to 30 years into the future do not treat their attention as though it is valueless. Okay? They treat it like it is supremely valuable. Okay? That is you and I. Our attention is supremely valuable and we guard it jealously. That's probably the best word for it. We guard it jealously. Okay? Yeah. Keep the thing. Stay focused on your true purpose, shifting your time horizon. These are the key ideas. And if you don't want to do it alone, you want to support structure, you join Brave Mystic Training, School of Imagination. You join us, you join a group, you join an incubator for your potential, and you walk it forward every day, not just by yourself, but surrounded by a group of people who are doing the exact same thing. Okay, I'm going to take a look at your comments, and then we'll wrap up for tonight. Amzi says it's 3:13 a.m. in Kenya and I am locked in. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Locked in. Yes. Beautiful. Make the unseen seen. Yes. I see Joe's on here. So Joe and I talk about these ideas frequently, and he's one of the individuals that I consider to be a mentor. We mentor each other in long-term vision. It's so important to have these people. So important. Keeps the dream alive in such a beautiful way. It's one of the rich gifts of being connected to others is to have someone who dreams with you. Stasio. Carrie says, I don't think you could be a billionaire if you haven't identified your why. 100%. That why is the spark, right? I've got the fuel, I've got the air, I've got the flint, I've got the wick, right? And the why plus my intention, right? Because the intention and the why, those ideas are very closely linked. That's what lights, right? That's that spark that takes those components and turns them into something more. It lifts what is just fuel, air, and a flint and a wick, right? And creates something that is dynamic and transmutative. Right? There's an energy here, energy of fire. Orlena says, how do we maintain a long-term vision while staying focused on the present, just as we are doing now? How do you achieve that balance? Just need some more clarity. It's a fantastic call out there, Orlena. Yes. So here's what I have found to be the key. When I wake up in the morning, I remind myself why. Why am I doing this? What is that vast vision? And in my mind, I can see it very clearly at this point because I've spent so much time painting it in my imagination. I can see it very clearly. And so just reminding myself why, and then, I get up and I start doing my day. And it's like by setting that overriding intention that what I do today will support this why, this long-term vision, it's now there's an element of flow that comes in, right? So it's like now I'm flowing. I've set that intention. It's like, okay, this is the river that I'm now going to raft, right? It's the one that's walking me closer to my vision. And now I get in my raft and I start to paddle, right? And it's like now I'm in the present moment. I'm just navigating the rapids and the waves and whatever, right? But now I know where I'm headed, and I'm on that path. Okay, so that's the first thing, and then the second thing. So that's the daily thing, right? The second thing would be like the weekly thing. And the weekly thing is having that small group of people to come back to, the mentors, right? That like kind of help you refine that focus of that vision on regularly over time. Okay, that's the value, and that's what I'm talking about when I say the Brave Mystic training and the guild. Okay, that's that value, that's that component of the value. It's not just anyone, it's people who have been trained as brave mystics that are doing this with you. Okay, so like that. Wake up every morning, recast the vision, refocus on it, walk it forward, and then join a support structure that holds you accountable. So that if you fall out of the raft, you got someone to grab you by your life vest and pull you back in. That's the basic idea here. Michelle says, would this be the same training you shared about on Sunday with Shweta? Yes, 100%. It is one training. It is a life incubator. We're calling it the Real You Brave Mystic Training. There's 2 classes. I'm teaching authorship. This is about how to identify and activate your individual life potential. Shweta is teaching simulation mastery, which is all about the remarkable discoveries she has made about how the simulation works, what the mechanics of it are. These 2 ideas combined together create superpowers. And those superpowers are best applied to long-term visions. Okay, so this is why we have it as a Brave Mystic training. It's the basic training. And then from there, once you have identified and activated your unique life potential, and you have a clear understanding of how the simulation works, then you get an invite. When you've successfully completed the training, you get an invite to join the guild. And the guild starts the incubators for projects and businesses. And yes, there is funding and networks at the end of that incubator. It's like the whole point is like, we're going to help you bring whatever it is that you have to bring. We're going to empower you with resources to help you reach that full potential. Okay, that's the long-term vision of this. Our goal can change in 20 to 30 years. Okay, it can, yes. But if properly defined, and if you've gone through this process that I'm talking about of identifying your unique individual life potential, identifying your gifts, skills, talents, and abilities, if you've gone through that process, the natural result of going through this process, it's almost like a math equation, although there's a little bit more magic than what using the word math would imply. The result of this process is that you get a really clear vision about why you're on Earth. Literally, what is the reason why I incarnated? That's a big question. A lot of people are afraid to ask that question. Why did I incarnate? And yet there is an answer to it. Okay, if you choose for there to be an answer to it, there is an answer. When you get to the level where you're able to say, this is why I incarnated, that vision's not going to change that much. Some of the details of it maybe become clearer, but we're talking about why you're here, right? Why you chose to have a lifetime on Earth. The soul that you are, taking on the fleshly vessel of the human body, playing the character that you're playing on the world stage. This is like reading ahead in the script and being like, oh, when my character reaches the apex of its character arc, this is who I am being and what I'm doing and what I have and who I am. That picture isn't going to change that much. It may adjust in clarity, but when you really connect to your reason for incarnation, when you connect to your soul mission on that level, it's pretty steady. It's pretty steady. While focusing on the 30-year goal, can you also complete the mini goals along the way? 100%, Trinity. 100%. Yes, it's not that we sacrifice the mini goals. And I understand there's some nuance to this, and I want to be responsible in the way that I'm presenting it, because there's very valid best practices about goal setting. Even having a goal for tomorrow is better than having 0 goals in life at all. Okay. This is really about having that long-term vision, being bold enough and brave enough to actually cast one. For a while, I was intimidated about being that bold. I was like, I know that the power of imagination, I've been studying Neville, but wow, to really take agency over my creative power in a way where I'm dreaming that big, it scared me. When I finally became bold enough to do it, now, even as I have the shorter term goals, I make sure that I consistently reconnect to the long-term vision. Okay, so case in point, my 20 to 30-year vision involves the apex of expression of what I'm calling the guild. The mini goals include launching this first Brave Mystic training, recruiting the right people who dream in this way, bringing them in, pouring into them, nurturing their potential, delivering the best possible experience I can humanly deliver as a facilitator in my humanness. Okay? Those are short-term goals, but they connect to the long-term goal. And I clearly see how they connect to the long-term goal. And that's the key thing that I want to really surface for you in this moment. It's seeing how the short-term goals connect to the long-term goals. That's the most important thing you can do for yourself to empower that long-term goal. Brilliant. All right, my friends, final thoughts. My final thoughts. This is the first time that I have dared to speak to you all about casting a vast vision. And I really feel in the core of my soul that the reason it came out tonight is because we're all ready to talk about a topic like this. We're all ready to dream at this level of scale. It is my intention to introduce these ideas tonight responsibly, meaning to not muddy them, but really only, I hope everything we said tonight generated more clarity. Okay. So it's like, as a facilitator, as a presenter, that's always my intention. And it's always the risk that I take, is that I say something that muddies things further. It's always my intention to bring more clarity. So that, going into a conversation this big, I hope that really you're walking away from this really with the question in your mind, am I dreaming big enough? Is my dream that is long term, that requires time to get to the full expression of, is it clearly defined? And maybe if this is your first time really thinking about, I think we all just kind of daydream about it sometimes, but if this is your first time really considering this big of a vision, then I hope it's inspired you to go into the silence and start to ask that question. Why am I here? Why did I take on a human body? The soul that I am, that's immortal, I didn't have to choose to be here. And I certainly did not have to choose to be me, meaning this, this character. I didn't have to choose to be this identity. I didn't have to choose these parents. I didn't have to choose these life circumstances. I didn't have to choose, this particular set of gifts, skills, talents, and abilities. I could have been anything, and yet I'm this. Why? If you haven't asked that question before tonight, from my soul to your soul, my friend, please open that door and inquire into the silence of your own divinity. Ask, and that the still small voice will begin to show you. It will begin to reveal to you. And every individual who has reached the apex of their life potential has gone through this process of inquiring, why am I here? And not accepting anyone else's answers for it, but going into the silence. Going into the silence. Why am I here? I'm asking my soul, why am I here? Why did I incarnate? Why now? Why in the early years of the 21st century? Like, why now? There's a reason. There are answers to all of these questions. And the first step to reaching the apex of your life potential, this big vision that is a stretch, the first step is to begin to ask why. Ask these questions. Why? People over 50, what is the time frame to realize their long-term vision? I had that thought as I was speaking earlier. I still think for what I've talked about tonight to really land, it still needs to be a vision longer than a single decade. Should not just be 2 to 3 years or even 3 to 5 years to really tap into the vision that I'm speaking of, the enormity of it. I know I said a lot in this live stream. I said a lot, 20 to 30 years. Okay. For those that have that time horizon, yes. If you're looking at a shorter time horizon, at least a decade. That's the shortest amount of time you should be thinking in terms of a big enough vision to where it stretches your potential. That'd be the best practice, at least a decade. Beautiful. All right, my friends, it is my honor to ignite this conversation for you in this way. And until next time, my friends, imagine wisely, and I will speak to you all again soon.